June 11th, 2023, the day that I ran my first Spartan race. In the pouring rain. Nice.
No traction.
Alright everyone, we made it. Here's the race course over here. This should be interesting. Alright, now I'm switching to GoPro. This is the map for the race. There's a 5K option, a 10K option, and a half marathon option. I was running the 10K. Before we even started the race, I watched my brother step in a huge puddle of mud, and while I was laughing, I managed to step in the same exact puddle, and so my feet were covered in mud before we even started, and I had a good idea of how this race was gonna go.
This is 9:45. First
This was my first Spartan race that I've ever ran, and I honestly didn't know exactly what to expect, but I definitely was not expecting to swim through a lake right at the beginning of the race, but here we are. This lake part of the race was probably my favorite part because I felt like I was in a triathlon. Even though we weren't actually swimming, we were just like wading through the lake. But it really made me consider doing a triathlon because I feel like that would be a lot of fun. Even though I'm horrible at swimming. After this lake section, we made it to our first obstacle, which was a hay wall. I did manage to do this one on my own, so I was pretty proud that I was able to complete the first obstacle, and it really set a good starting point for this race. It was pouring before we started the race, and it was pouring a good amount of time into the race, and so everything around us was soaked. We were all soaked. There was this one specific rope section towards the very beginning of the race that I really struggled with because it was just so muddy and I kept slipping and falling, but eventually I made it to the top. Everything was so muddy, which made it really challenging to do pretty much anything. Going up hills was really difficult, going down hills was more difficult. Even like walking through the forest was really hard. Any of the wall obstacles I pretty much got help with because I was just not strong enough to pull myself up. So thank you to my dad and my uncle and my aunt for helping me over all the walls. The Spartan race includes obstacles, and if you can't do an obstacle, you have to do a penalty loop or you have to do burpees. And let's just say I did a lot of penalty loops. There was 2 obstacles that I was pretty convinced I was going to be able to do, but unfortunately I just could not do them because they were soaking wet, and so you couldn't even grip any of the bars to be able to do them, which was really unfortunate. If you can't tell by now, I fell a lot. It was just so muddy that it was impossible to go up or down any of the hills because you would just be sliding everywhere. And so some sections were really hard to do and took a really long time.
Oh, this looks extremely questionable.
This is a pretty good falling compilation because this hill was quite possibly one of the worst ones. One thing I did learn about myself during this race was that I am a weakling and I need to go to the gym because I cannot do any of the obstacles by myself that I had to pull myself up on just because I was not strong enough to do it. And it was so frustrating because I had to get help on pretty much any of the walls that were over my head or any obstacle that I had to pull myself up on. I do just want to let you all know that I have a fear of heights, and so there were some obstacles that I just was not comfortable doing because they were so high up in the air and I was just so scared. At some point in time, I put my GoPro on time-lapse accidentally, so that's why some of the clips are so sped up.
I almost got a thorn bush in my face.
Here's some more clips of me just failing at life. The hurdles obstacle, I was convinced that I was going to be able to do by myself, but I could not.
Oh, this is not gonna go well for me. No.
This specific race took place at a ski resort, which is why there are so many up and down hills. For some reason, going down the hills was way harder for me than going up the hills. Okay, everyone, get ready for one of my favorite obstacles because it was the only wall that I was able to do on my own. Unfortunately, the video is in time-lapse, so you can't hear how excited I was, but I was so proud that I was able to do this one by myself.
Someone else do it. These are so muddy. It's so slippery. Bro, my feet are so muddy. How the heck?
I am fully gonna blame the mud for me not being able to do some of the obstacles. So because of this, me and the penalty loop became best buds. The sandbag carry was an obstacle that I was pretty proud that I was able to complete because I wasn't really sure if I was gonna be able to do it or not. So when I was able to complete it, I was pretty proud of myself. This right here was my biggest disappointment the entire race. The monkey bars was the one obstacle that I was convinced I was going to be able to do. I don't even think I made it to the second bar. This obstacle was easily the longest. It was honestly really fun though. It just took a really long time. The Helix was another obstacle that I'm pretty proud that I completed. Honestly, all the obstacles that I completed, I was pretty proud that I completed. But this one in particular was hard because, again, it was so muddy and it was really hard to, like, grab onto the rings. But I managed to pull through and conquer the obstacle. This hill right here was a nightmare, and it led up to my least favorite obstacle of the entire race. I wish it had the audio because the entire audio, I am just like, I'm so scared, I'm so scared, I'm so scared. Because again, as I said earlier, I'm scared of heights, and this one you're looking straight down at how high you are, and it was so scary. But everyone around me was so encouraging, and I think that really helped me complete the obstacle because my legs and arms were shaking so bad the entire time. But this is the obstacle that I'm most proud that I completed. This part of the race led to my downfall. I definitely thought my throwing abilities were better than they are because this obstacle led to another penalty loop. There was another monkey bar type obstacle, and then there was a stone carry that I could not do, and then there was a plate drag that I could not do, and then there was an inverted wall that I was too scared to do. So Yeah, this is pretty much my flop era. This is the thing that I most regret doing from the race, because this hill, I'm pretty sure, was the one that led to my butt being so scratched up. I also had an 8-hour car ride back to my house after this race. Yeah, that was not fun. The bucket carry I almost didn't even attempt to do, but I'm glad that I did because I somehow managed to complete it, and the only thing I have to show for it is this photo, where I look really excited. The next obstacle was the dunk wall, which blinded me, and then we had the rolling mud and the rope climb, which I definitely did not do. The last obstacle before the fire was a wall that I did not do either. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the race. To be honest, I'm really proud of what I did on the race. I know that I wasn't able to do a lot of the obstacles, but I honestly did surprise myself with a lot of the obstacles that I was able to do. So if you are considering doing a Spartan race, I definitely recommend doing it. Hopefully it doesn't rain for yours, because then your race will be really muddy and it will make it very challenging to do a lot of the obstacles, but it was honestly so fun and I would totally do it again, and I cannot recommend it enough. Alright everyone, finished the Spartan race. I survived.